Alright, it's time to assemble the parts we made for our pegboard toy using Autodesk Inventor. Once Inventor is open, you want to go to the upper left hand corner, find the New button, and this time we're going to open an assembly window. Assembly, you'll notice, is the second row down. We are going to make a standard IAM. So either double click standard IAM, or you can click standard IAM and then press create. First thing we have to do is bring all the parts that we've already made and put them on our screen. We're going to go back to the upper left hand corner. Seems like many things we always do from the upper left hand corner. My computer is saying place from Content Center. We're not using the Content Center. So I'm going to just click on the bottom of the screen and find the single word place. Click on place. Now we want to be able to find those parts that we've already made. Yours should be in the U drive where you've saved them. And just for ease of this demonstration, I've put mine on my desktop. I find my design and modeling. There's my pegboard toy. I like to start with pegboard as the first item I put on my screen. So I click pegboard. I can look down in this preview window to see if that's the part I actually want to select. And it is. So I'll click open. It's very large on my screen until I left click and I see a smaller version come into view. If I want just one of them, I would now right click. If I want to put more, I can move my mouse, left click, and put as many pegboards as I want onto the screen. Since I just want one, I'll right click on my mouse, find the button that says OK, and I'll click. There's my first item on the screen. It's my pegboard. Now to get the other items, I go back to the upper left hand corner, click place. I'll select my round peg, press open. I left click and then I right click and select OK. I now have my pegboard and round peg. Let's go back up to the word place, find my square peg, and I'll put that on the screen as well. Again, I left click and then I right click and say OK. At this point, I should be able to move all of these parts around. As I try to constrain them, it's very useful to have the pegboard stay in one place. So what I'm going to do is click on the pegboard. I'm going to use the right mouse button, click, and go down to find the word grounded. Grounded will just keep it grounded in one place on the screen so that it doesn't move around as I assemble the other pieces. Left click and check the word grounded. Now if I put my mouse on the pegboard and I try to move it around, it doesn't go anywhere. That's just what I want. To put these pieces in the pegboard and make them stay, I want to find the word constrain up on the top toolbar. I'll click constrain and I have a selection of two items. I can select mate, which is the default setting, and that'll connect our two pieces together. If I want, I could also click flush, and that would just allow us to match any edges up that we select on the screen. Let's go back and your default setting is mate, and that's what we want to do with these pieces. The round peg is the easiest, so we'll start there. Any round object has a center point, or in this case an axis, and that's shown by the dotted line. So I click when I see the dotted line in the round peg. Changes color to let me know that I've selected that. Now I have to decide where I want to put that round peg. And the round hole in the pegboard seems like the best place to do it. So I'm going to move my mouse around until I find the axis or center point of that round hole we've made in our pegboard. It actually comes up on my screen as axis. I will click that. I hear the wonderful sound of cowbell that tells me I did something right. And if it looks like what I want, I'll click the apply button on the screen. I'm now going to click cancel out of the constraint pop-up box so that I can move the round peg and see if that's what I want. And that fits just like it should. Now we're going to move on to the square peg. This one's a little bit more challenging. I'm going to go back up to the ribbon, find the word constrain, and click it. I have to constrain two sides of this square peg with two inside surfaces of the hole I made in the pegboard that will fit the square peg. I notice that there's an arrow telling me I select a whole side, and that's really what I want to look for. So on the square peg, I'll click once, just a normal left-hand click. I'll now have that arrow that stays on that side of the square peg, And then I'm going to click on any inside surface on my pegboard. In this case, I think I want to click on the bottom surface in the square hole in my pegboard. Again, I hear the sound of the cowbell. Square peg kind of looks like it fits, but we're not quite done yet. So I'm going to click Apply on the pop-up window for constraint. Then I'm going to click Cancel so that I can take a closer look at what was constrained. I'm going to move the peg to the side because, yeah, it still does move. And now here's what I have to do to check which sides have been constrained. I'm going to go over to the browser window, the left part of my screen. That's this part over here. I'm going to find square peg. I can click on that plus sign next to the word square peg. Down at the bottom it says mate. I'm going to left click on that. Now it's going to highlight the sides that have been connected together. And at this point I can see it's the bottom of my peg and the bottom of the opening in the pegboard. I now have to choose any side of my square peg, any side wall of the opening of my pegboard. I have to kind of keep that in my mind because once I hit this constrain button again at the top, those sides that are highlighted will disappear. Ready? I click constrain. I know that I had to pick the side of the square peg. I'm going to click that. Again, that red arrow will tell me that I selected the whole side and not just an edge. Now I have to go click any inside wall of the square opening in my pegboard. The wonderful sound of a cowbell tells me that something happened. I'm going to click Apply in the pop-up menu, and then Cancel to see what I've done. I can grab onto the square peg, and look at that. Perfection. No round pegs in square holes, no square pegs in round holes. This kind of came together just as we had intended. And there you have it, the assembly of a pegboard and 2 pegs.